Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome to the Roastin' Show.
Oh, you must be Batman.
Oh no! 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 You want me to tell you my secret identity?
What's your secret identity?
My name's Daniel.
Oh shit.
I can't put up the voice.
That means I must be Kez.
Yes, and we are here to review The Batman.
The Batman.
With Robert Pattinson.
Stick around. This is the Roastin' Show.
This is so good. I love this so much. Okay, so.
All right, before we get started on our review, a couple of rules. No spoilers.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Fine.
That's
Fine.
it, that's all the
No spoilers. Like, there's only a couple things. Because the thing about this is, like, it's a Batman movie,
Yep.
so you essentially know what's happening, like the outline.
Yep.
But there are some significant spoilers in this.
Yeah.
So we won't talk about them.
Okay, good.
But
How good was that?
it's so good. So
I'm glad you agree.
yeah. So what happened was that Ben Affleck was meant to make his own version of that within the DCEU.
So he wrote the script with friend Chris Terrio, and then obviously the drama of the Justice League unfolded, and he got very disillusioned with that. So eventually he relinquished the duties of directing, which then the studio hired Matt Reeves. And then after careful consultation and conversations, Ben wanted to leave the role altogether due to personal reasons, not just because of things that were going on at Warner Brothers. And then once that happened, Matt Reeves stipulated that he wanted to work with a clean slate, start from the very beginning.
And
New script, new actors.
I think one of the things that worked with this movie is that it's not part of a bigger universe.
Yes.
There's no other superheroes in this universe. Batman is as realistic as a guy dressed like a bat can be.
Yeah.
Which is still nonsense, but the right kind. Like in every other version of Batman, right? He takes off the cowl and he's Bruce Wayne. And I never buy, I love Batman, he's one of my favorite superheroes, but I never buy that. I'm like, you have billions of dollars and the only thing you can think to do is dress like a bat? This man, Robert Pattinson, I'm going to say it all the time. Robert Pattinson, he takes off the cowl and I see his face, I'm like, yeah, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
That's a broken man.
He's very broken. And that's a very good point, Dan, because there's a lot of people out there who are still on the fence or are leaning towards they don't buy him as Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne doesn't exist. Every other movie ever has got Batman and then Bruce Wayne. And Bruce Wayne is this charming billionaire type. And then with Robert Pattinson, he's like,
I'm so sad and
I'm
broken and I don't know what to do with my life. I'm going to be a Batman.
Yeah. It's like Bruce Wayne is a mask that he barely puts on.
Yeah.
And there
it's
isn't...
important to note that we are in a moment in Bruce Wayne's life where he doesn't know exactly what he wants to do or where he's at with his life.
This is the second year that he's Batman.
Correct. Yeah.
He's made no public appearances. He's sad and mopey. He barely has a relationship with anyone, including Alfred. And that's like a personal taste thing. If you don't want to see that and you want to see the charming billionaire playboy and Batman,
then go watch Batman and Robin.
No, not Batman and Robin. How dare you? Go watch any other Batman movie, though. Any of them. Because all of them have that, even the good ones. The Dark Knight had that. And also, people are also comparing this to Dark Knight.
Yeah, they shouldn't. You should be comparing it to things like Batman Begins. Because it's the start of a story. They have to start somewhere. They have to build to crescendo. Stop comparing things to Heath Ledger's performance.
Also, if you can...
upon... you have to have the universe.
But not only that, don't compare a thing to the best thing. Like, people are like, The Dark Knight is the best thing ever. If it's not the best thing ever, it's bad. I'm like, no, an 8 out of 10 is good.
It's great. It's fantastic.
Also, this is an 8.5 out of 10. There are some things that bug me.
Yeah, sure.
The main thing is Catwoman.
Oh, okay.
Because Catwoman's plot is, hey, my girlfriend's been kidnapped, Batman help me. And then she's like, but you're kind of sexy though.
For
And I'm
me,
like,
it was
don't
sort of the last 20 minutes of the film was a little bit unnecessary.
The last 20 minutes...
And once again, spoiler free, we're not going to tell you what
yeah,
happens.
but I think that the last 20 minutes were necessary, but you could have weaved that in to the rest of the plot.
Yeah, okay.
If that's what makes sense. The stuff that happens within the last 20 minutes, if you made that part of like the plot and you had, if you cut to like the Riddler more, then you could have weaved that last 20 minutes into the rest of the plot. But also, I really like it.
Yeah.
One of the things that I love is there's a few references. There's one reference to the 60s Batman.
There's a few references.
Thank you, Matt Reeves. 60s Batman.
Well, during his process,
I love it.
And Matt Reeves has said that this has taken him 5 years to get to this point, was that he started off with everything that he had loved about Batman on a table first. So that included the 66 Batman, that included the original Detective Comics, that included things that were considered to be quite dated. And now, you know, drawing upon those elements, that's where we've come into his story. So what we know so far and what we can tell you is obviously what's already out there. So we know that he's in year 2. So he's done the whole, you know, put his suit together and decided to become a vigilante and stuff like that. We don't need to see that story again. So now he's a little bit established, but he's still sort of finding his way in the world of what, you know, Batman is, what his main objective is.
There's no sense of pearls anywhere.
No.
No pearls.
No pearls, no parents getting shot in the alleyway, none of that crap. We've seen that a million times. Now we're sort of seeing the evolution of the Batman. And that's where this film really spends most of its time. It doesn't do a lot of work on Bruce Wayne at all. It's mostly about what Batman is doing currently, and that is what DC stands for, the world's greatest detective. It's a detective comic.
Man, I really love when he was at the scene and because he does actual detective work. So he's at a crime scene and he's looking down and then he just goes away. And then the person doing photography is like,
yeah, that's a good idea. I'm going to take that clue.
I love Robert Pattinson. Like, people that see Twilight and don't like Twilight because they were teenage boys at the time.
Haven't seen The Lighthouse.
Haven't seen The Lighthouse. Because The Lighthouse exists, and I love this, because Robert Pattinson wanted the weirdest script that his agent could find.
Yeah.
And like everything that Robert Pattinson has done since Twilight is like, I have Twilight money, therefore I don't need to do any acting. Or rather, I don't need to get paid millions of dollars to do acting, so I can just do whatever I want.
Pick and choose my stories that I want to do. And
explore, and that's how he got really respected.
So anyway, Batman's in his second year. He's out there. He's doing detective work, and he comes face to face with what's heavily drawn from the Zodiac Killer, which is the Riddler.
Okay, so the Zodiac Killer, you got
Seven.
You got Seven vibes.
Yeah,
there's a saw trap.
There is a saw trap.
There's a saw trap. So there's all of these things. Is like the Riddler, depending on how you write him, is this goofy guy that makes riddles that Batman easily solves. But as soon as they announced him, as soon as they announced they're doing the Riddler, I'm like, cool. Do Zodiac.
And then when they picked Paul Dano, it was just like,
that was Paul Dano. Man, all of the makeup work in this is like,
so good.
So good. And who played the Penguin?
So that's Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell does not look like Colin Farrell.
No. Yeah.
Like he looks like the Penguin. I'm like, that is Penguin.
Yeah. The makeup, the prosthetic work on that is absolutely phenomenal. And apparently what they did was once they decided, so Colin really couldn't see where they were going to go with Oz. And so he came in for a meeting, he read the script, he loved the script, but he still couldn't visualize what it was going to look like, right? So anyway, Matt said, let's get you in for a makeup test. We'll suit you all up, and then you'll sort of get a bit more feel of who Oz is and what he's capable of. And as soon as they went through that makeup process, they went down to a local Starbucks, and he wanted a coffee as Oz. And he was like, that's it. This is it. This is what we've got to do. And so much so, apparently the Penguin was going to be the main villain in the sequel. However, Warner Brothers loved it so much they've ordered a complete season of the Penguin now. So it's from the TV series.
Because he runs the Iceberg Lounge, which is a thing. I think it was in the animated series first.
Yeah.
So they brought in the Iceberg Lounge, and what I like is that Batman's like, man, there's so much crime in Gotham. I can't handle all of it.
Yeah. So I gotta pick and choose.
Yeah. And the Penguin is like, man, you may be corrupt and possibly evil, but like you're dealing with worse things, and I need your help. And I really like that because that happened in the anime series as well.
Yeah.
Where he's like, hey man, I have to deal with like Joker and whatever.
Yeah.
Just
So then the other thing is then we get introduced to Catwoman, played by Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah, so I didn't know any of the casting, but as soon as Cat showed up, I'm like, it's Catwoman.
Yeah, cool.
Because she's the only one that owns cats in Gotham.
She, the only one.
As soon as you see cats in Gotham, you're like, it's Catwoman.
Oh, it's Catwoman.
Catwoman's within 4 meters of every
You know
cat.
what's funny though? Like with all these rich, amazing characters that this particular film has, I think there's one character that nobody's really spoken about, and that is Gotham City itself.
Gotham City
In this film is phenomenally well realized.
What I love...
Even though we don't see a lot of it, I buy it straight away as Gotham City.
Yeah, I mean, Gotham City is a corrupt, stupid cesspool of scum and villainy.
Yeah.
And we won't get into why, but like, there's a reason that this has become as well funded as it has.
Yeah.
There's a reason that all of these criminals are getting away with this, and that is the main mystery of the thing. It's like, who is this person?
Such a great cat and mouse game. It's a brilliant psychological thriller.
Cat and bat the game.
It is slow paced to begin with, and it's supposed to be that. So some people might not like that.
Yeah, this is an 85% Rotten Tomatoes, and all of there are some reviews that are like, I don't like this bit doesn't work for me or whatever. But all those are personal taste. But most of them are like, I didn't realize how dark it would be.
I hate to be the editor in this film because to get it down, originally it was 4 hours, and to get it down to 3 hours must have been a phenomenal task. Because even on
it's
the
2
way
hours
home,
and 43 minutes.
I was talking to my mate, and we couldn't think of what else to cut out of it if you did have to make it shorter.
So what I would do is
so
what
well-paced and put together.
I think I could cut 20 minutes out of this specifically by moving all the Riddler stuff from the third act throughout the movie instead.
Yeah, but I don't think the payoff would have been as good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, moving on. Really quickly, last few things about the film.
Cinematography.
Cinematography.
Cinematography is fantastic. The way that this movie is made in general is great. How do you like the soundtrack?
The soundtrack is probably the best thing about this whole film.
Fantastic.
Yeah, Michael Giacchino, you are a freaking god. According to Matt Reeves, you wrote the score before he even started directing the film. They actually turned up on set day one, and Matt's phone dinged. It was an email from Michael with the opening theme. And he sat there in his car. He immediately called the producer and said, "Get your ass out here." The producer sat in the car and he played it, and they both just looked at each other and went, "Fuck, we have ourselves a Batman movie."
And I think this is the only one that does this, but all of the music in the trailers is from the movie.
Yes. Yeah.
This is sick. I love it. It's fantastic.
Brilliant. It's a great first opening chapter. Rob does a good job. The whole cast does a fantastic job.
And if you are one of those people that has only seen Twilight, see The Lighthouse and see Good Time.
Yeah.
Specifically those two.
Good Time. That's a great movie.
Yeah, both of those show his great things, but I'm not going to review those. Next week, I'm going to review Twilight.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to review Twilight. You're not going to.
I'm not being on that one.
That's fair. That's fair.
Go and see The Batman. It's in cinemas now.
Yeah.
It is a phenomenal movie. Great start chapter to a really good trilogy to come. And now we're going to cross over to...
we are going to cross over to figure out about the Outback.
Yes, with Josh Vitols. Stick around.
Hello, I'm Joshua Vitols. Today we're going to be talking about the Outback. Yeah?
Big bloody desert, right?
Yes, it is. It's the biggest. It's one of the biggest deserts in the world. That is.
What's big bloody desert? Mainly sand, or is there like interesting stuff in it?
It's mostly sand and shrubs.
Okay.
There's no trees.
No trees.
There's very little to no trees, and there's a lot of big wildlife around. You'll encounter a lot of that in the Outback, especially on the side of the road.
Especially on the side of the road. Right, I get it. I guess. So what kind of animals live in the desert?
Desert goannas, camels, kangaroos, goats, sheep, and cattle.
Must be a lot of
And
farmland. So with cattle, Okay, so is it mainly for farmers? Do a lot of farmers live there, or what is the desert used for? There's a lot of space.
The desert is a very harsh the desert is one of the harshest places in the country, and one of the most remote places in the country.
Okay.
It can be blisteringly hot out in the outback, reaching temperatures close to 50 degrees sometimes.
50 degrees?
50 degrees Celsius.
Jesus, that's like
That's like
2,000 degrees Fahrenheit or something.
No, it's like opening another door.
I believe the unit of measure is fucking hot.
Oh yeah, the unit of measurement is fucking 9 out of 10.
It's Celsius, 50 degrees Celsius.
50 degrees Celsius, Fahrenheit, 2 to 3,000. It's bloody hot.
Yeah,
so
bloody hot.
why would anyone live there?
Well, that's because it's not suitable for life out there. It's too hot.
Yeah. So why would people live there? Because people do live there.
Yes, there are people who live in the outback.
Not all of us.
Not very
Want to
many.
point that out? Most of us live on the coast, like regular people.
Yes, most of us live on the coast here in Australia. There's not very many people who live out in the outback or in the hottest parts of the country.
Because it gets to 25 degrees here and I'm out. Like, 50 degrees, I'm basically gonna move. So we have all of this land. What is it used for?
It's mostly used for, they're usually either sheep stations or cattle stations that are like nearly the size of an entire city or an entire state nearly. That's pretty big.
That is big. So there's a lot of space. People is owned privately mainly.
Yes, it's mostly owned privately. Some of it is owned by government. You'll encounter the most big attraction you'll find in the outback is Ayers Rock, or also known as Uluru.
They changed that. I think it was 1993, but I
Yes,
don't
they
think
changed it in 1993.
But I don't think that it was widely used until after that, where there was a public
Yes.
thing to
Yes.
this is what it's called.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Is there any? Can I? Okay, I want to go climb on it. Can I climb on it? I used to be able to.
Oh, you used to be able to. They did stop that a couple of years ago. You can't do it anymore now because of the safety and that. But it is
in the preservation for Aboriginal heritage.
In the preservation for Aboriginal heritage. It is.
That's probably more important than my need to climb things.
Yes. You'll encounter. The next part, the interesting about the outback, you'll encounter 53.5 metre long road trains on the road.
That's bloody huge.
That's huge. That's nearly,
huge out of 10.
That's nearly as long as a 4-carriage train that you might see in the city, or as long as 5 bus lengths. That's pretty big. They're pretty big and tall.
Oh yeah. So they're used for transport. I assume that people aren't just riding this for fun.
They use it to transport everything from livestock to food, anything that you might have in your house.
That's fascinating. So
have you seen a truck with 4 trailers attached?
I can't say that I have. I've seen a truck with 2 trailers attached, and I'm like, there's twice as long as that. Damn.
Yeah, that's a B double. The ones you see in the outback is a B double with 2 trailers attached.
That's incredible.
And the other attraction in the outback is Catherine Gorge in the town of Catherine. It's a beautiful landscape with this river inside 2 mountain ranges. It's just fantastic.
That's fascinating. I love the fact that they named it after someone called Catherine.
Yeah.
Do you know who Catherine is?
I don't know who Catherine is, but I don't know who Catherine is. But,
That's fair.
But I could look into that someday.
So, all right. I go to the Outback. I got 1 day there.
Yeah.
Can visit one thing. What should I visit?
You should probably either visit Uluru or visit the Nullarbor.
Okay. What's the Nullarbor?
The Nullarbor is a stretch of land near the top of the Great Australian Bight where the land falls down into the ocean. It's one of the most loneliest places on earth.
That's
And-
interesting.
And it is one of the most remote places on earth. It can take up to 2 to 3 days to drive out to the Nullarbor from the eastern states or from Perth.
That's fascinating.
Yes,
And
it can.
this is, man, it's always interesting when I love all of the things you're interested in. It's interesting. And I will look into more about this probably.
Well, maybe you might look into having a holiday in the Outback in the winter. The best time to go to the Outback is during the winter.
What temperatures is it in winter?
It's about low 20s, high teens, so
Okay.
20 degrees in Celsius in the winter.
Fantastic. Love a cold desert. Thank you for that. It's always interesting. Next up, we're going to talk to Scott. Hopefully, he'll be as interesting.
I am Scott,
Hi guys, I'm Adam.
and this segment we'll be talking about WrestleMania 38.
38? There's been 38.
Yes, Adam,
WrestleManias?
there's been 38 this year.
Why so many?
Because it just keeps getting better and better. Like the fans want to see more, and this is the biggest event of the year.
Righto. Why is that? Tell me about it, Scotty. Why is it the biggest wrestling event of the year?
Because there's so much history making in this event. So Undertaker has won the most WrestleManias in all of the WWE history.
Yeah. Now, dude, I'm old school, man. I remember watching wrestling. It was like WWF, and then I went to WWE. It was like the 80s. You had WrestleMania 1. I think that was Hulk Hogan, and Mr. T from the A-Team was wrestling back then, bro. Then you went up to like Hulk Hogan versus Ultimate Warrior, and then you had the Austin era. And man, I was a hardcore fan right up until Taker left. Now, I know he's up for Hall of Fame, but why should I start watching WrestleMania again?
Because, as I said before, history's going to be made, especially in the main event on day 2.
Day 2,
Night 2, sorry.
night 2. Oh, okay, because last year they did it over 2 days, is that right?
Because there's so many events, especially the main 3 title matches.
Right, and they're doing that again over 2 days?
Yep. So
Oh,
the second night they're going to be doing the 3 matches.
All right, so that's 2 nights of beer and popcorn and pizza. I've got it organized.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Got it. Lock it in.
And then also this year, WrestleMania will be hosted by Austin, Texas this year.
Right. Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texans, home of
The Rattlesnake.
Stone Cold.
Yeah, I got that one.
So the first match we'll be discussing would be the Royal Women's title match between Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair.
Right, okay. So Bianca, she's that one that's got all the colorful hair, right? And like big braids, and she uses it as a weapon in some of her matches. Is that her?
Oh yeah, especially last week on Raw when she kind of whipped Becky Lynch like 3 times, and you can just hear the whip.
Yeah,
you know.
right. Okay. But who's her opponent? She's going up against...
The man,
Yeah,
Becky
right.
Lynch.
She's got it in the bag. Surely it's Lynch's time. Again. She's the reigning champ?
Yeah, she is. She actually is the reigning champion at the moment.
Okay.
But when it comes to the main event, this will be Bianca Belair's second WrestleMania. Let's see if she can make it 2 years in a row.
I'm saying no. She will not be able to make it 2 years in a row. And the man is walking in with the title and walking out with the title.
But let's see when we see it at WrestleMania. That's when it counts. That match counts. When is that
100%.
WrestleMania 38?
100%.
The second match, the SmackDown Women's Championship, Charlotte Flair and Rowdy Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, right. Charlotte Flair. I remember this girl, man. She is daughter to Ric Flair. Is that right?
Yes, it is. So Ric Flair is a known World Heavyweight Champion, Intercontinental Champion,
Yep.
WWE Hall of Famer,
Yep.
and if so many people don't know, she is part of the four Horsemen.
Yeah, and very similar to her father. She comes in with those beautiful gowns, yeah? Like a peacock walking up in the ring. Is that her?
Yes, that is definitely her. They're the most expensive robes I've ever seen in my life.
A whole lot of show. So what you're saying is Ronda's just going to come out and whip her ass in front of everyone.
Who knows until we see what happens at WrestleMania. This will be Ronda Rousey's returning match After
gotcha.
being out with an injury, then having a baby, then she finally made her Royal Rumble return. And no one knew that she was coming back.
Yeah, I remember that. I thought there was a lot of rumors going around she was going to try and get back into mixed martial arts fighting, and then she was live streaming for a while, and I think she got married too. What's her partner's name? Travis Harper Brown or something, heavyweight fighter. And then out of nowhere, now she's back in wrestling again.
So hopefully at WrestleMania, this match will be intense. So I'm going to go with Ronda Rousey on this one.
Damn it. Well, then I'm going with Charlotte. Just because she's got awesome gowns and she comes from a legacy of championship wrestling. She comes from, good stock, good DNA, and I'm sure she's just going to put that figure 4 on Ronda. And Ronda's soft. She's going to tap. We all know that.
So Ronda has got more experience than Charlotte Flair. She's got UFC background. She's got martial arts background. She's got Taekwondo background. What does Charlotte Flair have?
What does Charlotte Flair have? Oh, her dad is probably or arguably the greatest of all time. There's no way that Charlotte did not see her dad moving around wrestling all those years, coming through multiple world titles and walking out with the charisma and all the energy she's got. She's going to overwhelm Ronda. Ronda won't be able to keep up. No
So
way.
you're going to stick with Charlotte Flair?
Yes.
But as you probably know, last week on SmackDown, Charlotte Flair tried to kick Ronda Rousey, but Ronda Rousey moved around and put in an ankle lock.
Yeah, see? And that's Charlotte playing possum, man. She is setting Ronda up, giving Ronda all this confidence, and that's where the wisdom comes in. That's what she's got.
Let's just see what happens. Let's see what happens at WrestleMania.
Yes, let's see.
So this is the moment of the time right now. We're going to be talking about the main event, the Universal and the WWE Championship between the reigning, the defending champion, Brock Lesnar versus
Roman Reigns.
AK the Tribal Chief, AK head of the table.
AK, my cousin. I'm joking. He's not my cousin.
This is going to be the biggest match in the history of WrestleMania.
It's a big statement, Scotty. There's been plenty of great, fantastic matches over WrestleMania, man. Name a few. Hogan, Warrior, Hogan,
Ultimate.
and Warrior. Undertaker.
So
versus
now
Undertaker.
this rivalry has gone back to 2012. Wow.
2012. Oh yeah, okay. That's when when Brock and Roman first started their rivalry against each other?
Then it just went on from there.
Yeah, okay. So who's won the most amount of matches they've had since then?
It's actually been a tie, so they won 3 matches each.
Ah, okay. So this will be their 7th match, maybe? So what, like a winner take all?
So this match they're having is winner takes all. So whoever wins this match will not just take home their title, they'll be taking their opponent's title home.
Ah, got it. Okay. Man, yeah, I understand. This is going to be a huge matchup. Who can you pick to win this one?
I have to go Brock Lesnar on this one. Like, he's
Yeah,
the
okay.
biggest, baddest.
He is something else. He's definitely something else. I mean, ever since Brock was, NCAA wrestling champion, like back in his high school days, coming through now, obviously we all know he went over to MMA. He did well with the UFC. He's definitely a brand, isn't he? He comes with a lot of experience, a lot of power. But Roman's been around a long time too, man. What's his history?
With his family, so his, cousin, The Rock, his father wrestled, his whole family wrestled.
Yeah, right. So he's got a lot of history coming in too. A lot of DNA, hasn't he? With such a long line of ancestors and family, obviously wrestling for a long time. So, who are you picking as your winner?
I'm going to go Lesnar.
You're going with Lesnar?
I'm going Lesnar.
Oh,
on
then
this one.
easy. I got to go for my cousin. I'll be going for Roman.
Let's see if Brock Lesnar makes Reigns chap out.
Nah. I think Roman's going to hit him with the Superman punch after maybe 1 or 2 spears. And I think I think Roman will be pinning him in the middle of the ring for 1, 2, 3, taking home both titles again.
Unless Roman does his submission on Lesnar. That's all we got for our segment today. We're going to head back to Dan Tickner now.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Rogues Den Show. It's been quite a journey, and
Really?
I
This is
can't.
where I need like a bat.
Future Kez, you can edit that in. I can just imagine you having the thing and it just goes. Anyway, see you next week when I'm going to talk about Twilight. God help us all.